Now let's go through some stances. The first one that you probably learned in Taekwondo, although you might not think it is tension stance, or chariot sogi. Here, so I'd leave the hands out of it. It's very simple, 50-50 weight distribution, and our feet are facing 30 degrees outwards. From the centre line, if this is 0, this is 90, then each foot faces 30 degrees outwards here. Hands 30 degrees outwards, and generally we're bowing. Make sure, any stance, whether it's walking stance, sitting stance here, when our hands are in a low guarding block, then we have our fists as if we were holding invisible rods, and they will connect in front of us. You don't want to be showing people your palms of your hands or your arteries. They're turned this way around, okay? Here, bow, or here, or here. We have also closed stance. Closed stance, we'll introduce you a little bit later, probably the most simple stance there is. You put your feet together, there's no gap in the middle, and there is 50-50 weight distribution between both legs. We also have parallel stance. Parallel stance, once again, 50-50 weight distribution between both legs. Now, parallel stance is one shoulder width wide, and it is measured from the outside of the feet. So, the outside of the shoulders here should be level with each of the feet down this way. Parallel stance. We also have sitting stance, which is wider parallel stance. The weight distribution is still 50-50, but now our knees are bent. We keep our hips pushed forwards and our chest upright, and we have 1.5 shoulder widths between our feet, which means from the inside of this foot to the inside of this foot is 1.5 shoulder widths wide. The most common stance, of course, is walking stance. Now, walking stance is, again, 50% weight distribution here, 50% weight distribution here. This front leg is bent slightly, so you should be able to see, at least when you're not leaning forward, here you should be able to see kind of the top of your foot, but not your ankle. So it's here. What you don't want to do is put your weight too far forwards. This way, the top of my leg is kind of sliding off. I want to go this way, and I'm pushing my weight too far forwards. We want it just here, so it's relaxed, and so this knee joint is still able to keep the pressure off my thighs. Okay? The rear leg is straight within the dobok, which means it's not locked out here. We're not uncomfortable, but it is just straight enough that we can't see any bend when we're wearing a dobok. Rear foot is 25 degrees off the angle, so if this is 0, this is 90, it is 25 degrees off here, and the front foot is dead straight forwards. There is 1.5 shoulder width long and 1 shoulder width wide, and where you measure that to and from is your toe to your toe. Next we have L stance, which is here. Now, the front leg is pointed inwards at 15 degrees, the back leg also inwards from this position 15 degrees. The weight distribution is 70% on the rear leg, 30% on the front leg, and you should have the knee right over the toe of your rear foot, and your hip should be over the heel of your rear foot, this way. Now, when you step back, you should feel that the weight comes onto the right hand side, or if you're right, whichever leg is back, that side of the foot. So you're keeping your balance by pushing the outside of your rear foot into the ground, here. The distance between the heel of your rear foot and the toe, or if I push forward this way, is 1 inch, or 2.5 centimeters, and the length is 1.5 shoulder widths from the outside of this foot to the outside of this foot. Now, when you're doing low stance, the easiest way to think about this is going to a walking stance position. Remember, 1.5 shoulder widths long from toe to toe, and 1 shoulder width wide from toe to toe, and you're taking it 1 foot longer. So, here, and now I'm in low stance. It is now 1.5 shoulder widths from my heel to my toe, and it is still 1 shoulder width wide from my front toe to my rear toe this way. This is low stance. If you want to do fixed stance, the easiest way to think about this is taking yourself to L stance here, and then you're going to make it 1 foot width longer. Okay, so here, remember it is measured as 1.5 shoulder widths from the outside of this front foot to the outside of this foot, and you're just taking it back this way and here. The second difference between the two techniques is 50-50 weight distribution. So L stance, we're pushing our weight 70% on the back leg, 30% here, but we're taking ourselves forward, keeping our chest upright, and where the center of our weight is now where our belt would touch the floor if it went all the way. It is 1.5 shoulder widths long, now from the outside of the front foot to the inside of the rear foot, and it is still 1 inch gap between the heel and the toe of the rear and front foot respectively. Now, when you're doing vertical stance, it can seem complicated, but it's really quite easy. The legs are going to stay straight, again not locked out, but just naturally positioned here and upright. We take our foot in this way. Remember, if you're going forwards, you want the front foot to be able to move freely forwards and backwards, and the rear foot to be pushed in this way, and you're going to take it forwards. Now the hips should be naturally facing 45 degrees. There should be 60% weight on the rear foot, 40% on the front foot, and it should be 1 shoulder width wide. So 1 shoulder width long, and we measure that from the front, the toe of the front foot, to the inside of the rear foot this way. So it's 1 shoulder width there. So when we're doing rear foot stance, we change things around a little bit. First of all, it's a shorter stance, and we have more weight on the back leg. It's 90% weight distribution on the back, 10% weight distribution on the front. The front foot, instead of being straight forwards and level with the heel, now comes to the inside of the foot. So the toe here is positioned right in the center of my rear foot, and it's facing 25 degrees off the straight angle. We are still 1 shoulder width wide, but now we're measuring from the outside of the front foot to the outside of the rear foot here. And our hips, again, face off at 45 degrees. Now, when we're doing Buryo-sogi or bending stance, we want to be here. If we're delivering our technique to the front, then our rear foot is out at 90 degrees. We pick our front foot up here, and our foot faces 45 degrees this way. You want your heel in front of your rear knee there, and then you really want to push your weight into that standing foot. You really want this bent up here, and your hips will again be facing 45 degrees, but your knee and the line here should be putting an angle that is less than 45 degrees this way. Now generally when we're delivering from bending ready stance, we're looking to connect our hands up and do a side kick here. So in patterns, through and down. Another stance that we have later on is one-legged stance. Now that is here, okay? It looks like bending ready stance, kind of, but we're bringing our standing foot straight, and this foot is straight up. The back of my heel should be level with the front of my knee. You should be able to slide a piece of paper and no more in this direction, and it's just positioned off to the side. So it's not pushed under here, it's not level with the edge of my hip. I'm trying to balance well. It's tucked in slightly, and the heel's level with the knee. We're putting in here, or wherever else we need to be. That's a Weibao-sogi or one-legged stance. Now we also have diagonal stance. Now diagonal stance is pretty easy to get into. You put yourself in sitting stance here, nice and easy, and then you bring, if it's a left foot diagonal stance, then you bring your left foot forward, and it is 1 foot length, which means the heel of your front foot should be level with the toe of your back foot in this direction. We keep our hips facing forwards, push down here, and where we have, for example, this is from Juche later on. Okay?